Welcome to the show. I'm John Bell, and this series is called Eat the Oligarchy. There's a natural law that you're not going to find in any science book, but you will find it on every page of history. A society eventually becomes a true reflection of its leadership, for good or for bad. Their corruption becomes our corruption. Their weakness becomes our collapse. Their selfish values become our ruined future. And that's why we need to talk about the Democratic Party, because right now its leadership is showing us a very ugly reflection indeed. It's not just a feeling, it's in the numbers. The party is bleeding voters, losing 4.5 million in just the last couple of years. That's a freaking disaster. And it's a direct result of a leadership crisis rooted in cowardice and corruption. People are pissed off, and they should be. The Republicans exploited this anger by inventing a fantasy called the deep state. But let me tell you, the deep state is real. It's very real. It's just not what they say it is. The real deep state is the billionaire class and the multinational corporations who've bought our government and the leaders of the Democratic Party, people like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, who are standing in front of the fire hose of their cash with their mouths wide open. They claim to be fighting for you, but they're owned by the same special interests that are destroying this country as I speak. And let's be clear about what this creates. It's not just about greed, it's about power. It's the foundation of American oligarchy, ruled by the wealthy few. And oligarchy is the fuel for fascism in America. And what they have planned for us should terrify every single one of us. The billionaire class doesn't want a vibrant democracy. Democracy is a threat to their power. It means people might demand fair wages, clean air, affordable health care, all of which cut into their profits. Authoritarianism, on the other hand, is great for business, great for profits. The system is designed to do one thing and one thing alone: crush the upward mobility of regular people. It's not just about keeping your head above water anymore. It's about destroying the very idea that you can build a better life in this country. So who are these oligarchs? How do they operate? You need to know the name of one of their primary weapons: private equity. These Wall Street firms and individuals are not investors. They're financial parasites. Their business model is to buy a healthy company, load it with impossible debt, and then strip it for parts before leaving the carcass on the side of the road for taxpayers, for you and me to clean up. They did it to Toys R Us. They bought the company, fired 40,000 workers, liquidated their pensions, and then walked away with hundreds of millions of dollars. They're doing it to our healthcare system. They buy up hospital chains and emergency rooms, gut the staffing, cut corners on patient safety, and then they send you surprise bills for thousands and thousands of dollars that you can't afford and may very well drive you into bankruptcy. And they're a primary driver of the housing crisis, the unaffordability crisis. Firms like Blackstone have become the biggest landlords in America, buying up single-family homes, jacking up the rents, and making homeownership a sick joke for an entire generation. For all the younger folks out there, this is a complete betrayal of the American dream, and it sickens me. This entire parasitic industry is enabled by politicians who protect a tax loophole called carried interest, which lets these billionaire fund managers pay a lower tax rate than a teacher or a firefighter. This is disgusting. This is oligarchy in action. And let me stress this again. Democrats did nothing when they had the power to stop this. Absolutely nothing. And once you understand the nature of the enemy, you start to see their influence everywhere. Look at foreign policy. Why do Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries give unconditional support to Benjamin Netanyahu's ultra right-wing government as it wages a genocidal war on the Palestinian people? Why? It's because they take huge sums of money from groups like AIPAC and other pro-Israel groups. They continue to fund a war machine that has flattened Gaza, systematically starved its people. Because why? Because their donors demand it. They put the interests of a foreign government and their paymasters above the interests of the United States. It's a pay-to-play scheme, pure and simple. Don't get me wrong. I am not anti-Israel. and I am certainly not anti-Semitic. Uh, the truth is the truth. Uh, this was a blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that. And once you understand the nature of the enemy, you start to see their influence everywhere. Look at foreign policy. Why do Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries give unconditional support to Benjamin Netanyahu's ultra right-wing government as it wages a genocidal war on the Palestinian people? It's because they take huge sums of money from groups like AIPAC, who donate equally to conservative politicians and MAGA. They continue to fund a war machine that has flattened Gaza and systematically starved civilians just because their donors demand it. They put the interests of a foreign government and their paymasters above the interests of the United States. It's a pay-to-play scheme, pure and simple, and it's gone far, far beyond what was necessary in responding to the terrible massacre on October 7th. You want another example? It's happening right here in my backyard. I live in Loudoun County, Virginia, also known as Data Center Alley. Big tech are building massive AI data centers here and all around the country and the planet that use as much power as a city of 1 million people in a single data center campus. Think about that for a second. All of this so AI can replace your job and eliminate your ability to earn a living. You think these same fat cats will support a guaranteed income to deal with the transition that's coming? Nope, not a chance. And who pays for the massive infrastructure upgrades required to run these data centers? You do. Our Democratic senators, Mark Warner and Tim Kaine, both take money from Dominion Power and their lobbyists. In return, they're letting Dominion jack up our electricity rates to pay for the infrastructure upgrades that only benefits these tech giants and the greedy billionaires who own them. They're literally making us pay for the tools of our own economic replacement. Talk about replacement theory. That's what being pro-business means to these fake Democrats. It means pro-big business, and it means you'll get the bill. You better not count on their support when big business cancels your career. They'll just do what they always do, lie and pretend it's the Republicans' fault. So be skeptical, if not outright suspicious. When you hear a Democrat claiming to be pro-business, it usually means they're for sale. What about the ultimate betrayal? It was when the Democrats had power. They had the power to save democracy itself, and they walked away like cowards and co-conspirators. This one really gets to me because of the blatant and unforgivable failure of these so-called leaders. Remember when they controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House under Joe Biden? The House passed the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. These bills would have ended partisan gerrymandering and stopped the MAGA voter suppression machine cold. But they died in the Senate. Why? Because Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema refused to reform the filibuster. They chose a procedural tradition over the right to vote, while dark money groups funded by the Koch network and others gave them political cover for their cowardice. This was an epic failure of leadership, and every single Democratic senator who refused to stand tall and pressure their corrupt colleagues to make the right decision for once in their life owns this. Chuck Schumer was and is the ringleader here. It's not hard to imagine a Harry Reid pulling Manchin and Sinema into his office, sliding each one's dossier of dirty deeds to them and telling them, hey, you're going to vote for democracy or else. Not Schumer. He just shrugged, passed a few economic bills that didn't even enhance Democratic popularity, much less fortify our democracy against the rising fascism that we all knew was coming. He just shrugged and helped Netanyahu murder innocents and systematically flatten and starve Gaza. What a leader that is. And now we expect this corporate shill and opportunist to lead us against the fascists? Give me a fucking break. And that failure of democracy and betrayal of the working class wasn't an isolated incident. It's a pattern. Just look at the Affordable Care Act. We were promised universal, affordable health care. People demanded a public option, a government plan to force insurance companies to compete honestly for once in their existence. But that's not what we got. Why? Because of a grand betrayal orchestrated by the Democratic leadership itself. Nancy Pelosi, Max Baucus, and the Obama White House held secret meetings with the chief lobbyists for the insurance and pharmaceutical industries, made a backroom deal to kill the public option to protect insurance company profits. It's true. Look it up. Then they made another deal with Big Pharma, promising the government would never use its power to negotiate lower drug prices. Luckily, Joe Biden broke that promise. That's another story for another day. The ACA wasn't a flawed achievement. It was one of the most successful corporate lobbying campaigns in history, designed from the start to protect the profits of the industries that funded it from the very beginning. And yet, after that massive betrayal, Pelosi remains in office, pulling the strings of her favorite marionette, Hakeem Jeffries, another corporate lackey masquerading as a Democrat. Folks, we deserve far better, and it's about time we demand it. It's time for everyone to wake the fuck up and understand what's really happening in this country. With the current Democratic leadership in place, all we're going to get is a kinder, gentler machine gun hand, to quote Neil Young, an oligarchy with a bit more polish than Elon Bezos and Zuckerfuck, as I prefer to call that freak. Is that what you really want? Is that what you want for your children and their children? This is why people don't trust the Democrats. This is why the Democratic brand is so completely and utterly broken. They aren't truthful people. They aren't brave leaders. They're taking money from the same damn billionaires and corporations that fund the MAGA hate machine. They talk about fighting for working families, but then they fly off to Martha's Vineyard for a $50,000 plate dinner with Barack Obama and George Clooney. And that actually happened right after Obama admonished wealthy liberals, saying maybe they don't need that third home or private jet. Give me a fucking break, man. Do you think we're stupid? To quote Joe Rogan, who I don't like at all, do you think we're children? The hypocrisy is stunning. This isn't just about bad optics. It's about who they listen to. They won't take a meeting with a working person like you or me, but they'll sure take a ride on a billionaire's private jet or sell out the rest of us to keep them happy. Yeah, they play the part of the people's champion, but behind closed doors, they're part of the elite, the same elite that we're talking about. And the American people need to see through this charade and understand nobody but us as a people, as a nation, can stop this. Folks, there's only one path forward. What's the solution here? Well, for one, we have to demand better. We have to call bullshit on anyone, anywhere who wants to deceive us working stiffs. We have to fight and only support those who will fight alongside us and for us. First, we got to tell the Democratic Party no more corporate money, period. Point them to Bernie Sanders and AOC. They've proven you can win by funding campaigns with small dollar donations from actual working people. Second, we need a platform that's unapologetically for the working class. Let's make the American working class great again. Publicly funded elections, a living minimum wage, universal health care, break up the corporate monopolies that are bleeding all of us dry. Reform a totally corrupted Supreme Court on day one. If the Dems won't do it, then maybe we need a new political party that can rise to the challenge. Listen up, Democratic politicians. If you're not ready to take a moral, principled stand, then you're not ready or deserving to lead us anymore. You need to stand aside or we will push you out ourselves. We are taking the fight to you and the MAGA fascists propping up the same corrupt and unfair system you both profit from. We'll never enjoy real freedom and prosperity unless we fight those who would steal it from us. Listen. For decades, we've been losing our democracy through 1,000 small cuts with gleeful and despicable participation from both parties. The current Democratic leadership are the same people who lost to the MAGA fascists once before. Why should we trust them to lead us now? They're not our friends, and they're certainly not our heroes. They are just slightly less objectionable managers of a corrupt system. So, if you're tired of getting shafted, if you're tired of a system that serves billionaires and corporations and not people, then it's time to get mad as hell and fight. Start local. Don't elect a fat cat to your county commission or as your mayor. Don't elect a friend of the fat cats to Congress. Demand that every single person who asks for your vote refuses corporate PAC money. If a politician can't or won't tell you exactly what they will do to bring back freedom, fairness, and democracy to this land, don't give them your vote. In my view, that means we need to get rid of complicit Democratic incumbents just as much as we need to crush MAGA fascism. So get involved, America. Wake up. Donate and volunteer for insurgent campaigns led by candidates who are against this corrupt system. People like Zoran Mondani, Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Pay attention to where their money comes from and what they stand for. Because nobody is coming to save us. We have to save ourselves this time, and we need righteous allies and representatives to help us save this country. All right, so here's my plug. If this is the kind of honesty and the kind of dialogue that you've been searching for, then please subscribe to this podcast, support our efforts in this fight. And I need to be clear about one thing before I go. This show doesn't take corporate money. It never has, and it never will. We're funded by you, the listeners, and the citizens of this country, and that means that we're accountable only to you. Stay safe, and let's fight the good fight.